That I was not violating any sort of copyright laws using a royalty-free playlist made by someone else.
So I planned on getting this done back before Elden Ring came out, but college classes took up some time and I was unable to really get it done. Then Elden Ring came out and I have since put a hefty amount of time into it. The experience was interesting, to say the least. Well, I do like the kind of puzzle aspect of having to find the signs. It feels like this is how you... What?! Anyways, I'm finally done with finals, have all the achievements in Elden Ring, and got this very nice comment from Beppe, which did nothing but inflate my ego. So let's get back to Portal, but 10 times as fast. Hello everybody, I'm the Eternal Potato, someone who must hate myself more than I think I do to go through stuff like this, because today, I've got a good one for you. Today, we finish a series for the first time in my life with a much anticipated sequel to testing 10 times as fast. At least, I am anticipating it. Without further ado, let's do it. If you missed part 1, go watch it. But if you need a refresher, it focuses on the second half of the stream I did, where I played both Portal games, but at 10 times the speed. In that part, I was able to beat Portal 2 surprisingly easily with little roadblocks. I started with that because today, we're looking at the first Portal game. This one proved to be as hard as testing 10 times as fast should be. It tested my sanity in a way that I don't think any game has ever done so, given I've played it for years. It uses the same commands as the second game of SV_cheats1 and host_timescale10 to run it at 10 times as fast. Now, let's begin. I started, paused, put in the commands, and then sprung out of bed. Here, we have the first noticeable difference between the games, with Gladys' lines not being sped up and instead clipping over each other. As you can see.
Well, we hope you're set before we start for your time best.
I started the timer to see how long both games would take, and started the game. I started by running into the geometry of the portal frame. A one-time issue, I'm sure of it. I put the cube on the button, ran into the door frame, and bolted into the elevator. The next chamber had portals automatically switching, but at 10 times the speed. I grabbed the cube, put it on the button, and struggled to get into the door. Here's where I adapted the playstyle of tapping the movement buttons. This made me move a good amount, but was still controlled to a certain degree. The next chamber introduced the loudest portal gun science had ever made.
Please be advised that I noticed it.
So naturally, I jumped down to get it, grabbed it, and immediately shot it 100 times. The next chamber was quick, but getting in the door took longer than the test itself. The next chamber was easy. I forgot radios spawn after you beat the game. In the next chamber, I tried to get the secret ending to the test by throwing the cube through the portal. It turns out, at 10 times the speed, it's harder to control my cubes. I tried to get the secret ending, but I couldn't. The hardest part of the next chamber was walking onto the platform. The next one featured a new hazard which had never once been considered by the player base, the platform. If you thought I would learn to do it better, you'd be wrong. I immediately made it, but then forgot to jump at the end. And again. Turns out the old saying, 3rd time's the charm, was actually true here. I then solved the next chamber at record speed, then ran into the energy pellet catcher and was knocked off the platform. Thankfully, it was a one-time event though. The following chamber featured a great spectacle of my brain just not working.
Once again. Frank. Now what? Quit.
No! Don't worry, it gets much worse. Next came the momentum chamber. It went by really fast.
Momentum.
Now it was time for a portal gun upgrade. Time to get it in the loudest way possible. On top of that, the portal gun was spinning really fast. It wasn't hard to get the time right, so I made it into the energy pellet room. I shot my blue portal and waited for the chamber to solve itself. I waited for the portal to line up with the platform and run off the edge. I'm beginning to notice a pattern. I got the portal gun and could hear myself think again. I got out without falling into the goo and carried on. Then came the second momentum chamber. I only forgot my portals once and solved it with ease. The next chamber was easy, but I probably could have solved it quicker if I didn't mess with the first cube. This was the first platform that didn't kill me, fun fact. The cubes falling was kinda funny though. The next chamber was a special one. Normally, you can solve this one quickly by shooting a portal by the lift and the other portal in the pit. This is how to solve the test in the least amount of portals, but at 10 times as fast, it obviously wasn't as easy as it normally was. After a few attempts, I made it. Surely, there will be no more QuickTime events in the game like this. Right? Chamber 13, I think. If you can't tell, we're going through this game very fast. Surely, we will be keeping up that pace to the very end. This chamber was the first one to actually test my abilities. I got past the momentum part easily. The next came an energy pellet. In Portal, energy pellets exist on a timer. After a time, they blow up and a new one gets shot. Going through portals resets the timer, which is how you're supposed to solve this chamber by placing them on each side of an emancipation grill. Obviously, at 10 times the speed, it was hard to place them before the pellet blew up. As I started, I heard talking.
I regret to inform you that this next test is...
I genuinely have no idea where this came from. I had no tabs open that played audio, no sort of media player, nothing. I had nothing. If you have any idea what this is, please let me know. Anyways, I figured out that placing them in a line helped keep the pellet alive, and this let me work with it on one side. I could place it on the other wall by making it so I just needed to place the portals on the other side of the grill before the energy pellet blew up, if that makes any sort of sense to you. Oh, if only it was that easy. After a couple of minutes, I finally got it by trapping it on the other side. The next part had more momentum where you need to shoot the portal in mid-air. My solution was hold down the fire button and hope I made it into a portal. I did the same thing multiple times and eventually it worked. I got the pellet into the receptacle and now face something harder than what came before. The point of these platforms is to change your portals to get onto the next platform while riding them. You do this until the end. Now, my platforms were zooming, so standing on them wasn't possible. Luckily, I had a way of doing it. In Portal 1, the portals act like bullets after you shoot them and have to travel and hit a wall before they open the portal. At normal speed, you can poke your head through a portal, shoot, duck back, and wait for the portal to change locations as it hits a wall. This lets you hop through this part without stepping on a single platform. The problem was that this wasn't at normal speed. Yeah, this is not going to be easy. Now, the smart of you may have noticed over this part and the last one that timed events are incredibly hard at 10 times the speed. Guess what? They only get worse from here. After passing the platform bit, finally, I was now at a point where I had one more timed event. Here, I have to hit a button, jump through a portal, hit another button, and shoot two portals to make a pellet go through two doors that were open, and hit its receptacle all before the timed buttons ran out of time. In layman's terms, hey. I did some trial and error to figure out what the best portal placement was to make the time quicker. My brain was running on full power to figure out how to do it. I tried to get the pellet going before hitting the buttons. I had the genius idea to place the portal ahead of time, as it still kept the pellet lined up with the receptacle. Now I could hit the buttons quicker. Clearly, this method had its risks. However, it was the best way I could solve the test as it fixed the timing issues of the pellet, portal placing, and button pressing. I tried again, and actually got it. Next came the turret test. It wasn't hard, but it was pretty funny having them go full TF2 heavy and become miniguns on legs. Then came the companion cube test. This is where it gets really, really bad. Crouching made it easier to get past the energy pellets. I chose to solve the first bit by shoving the cube in and hoping it would work. It did. The second time around though, I put the cube on the door button. I had a pellet bounce and activated the second thing. Now I had to do the two doors part. My solution was to sit on the edge of the button as the pellet went by. That didn't work. I placed my portal on the edge so the pellet was as far away from me as possible, and it worked. Now I had to get to the end of the chamber. If only it were that easy. Remember that platform jumping from way back? Yeah, now I had to do it 3 times. Yes, it was the hardest time I've had pressing spacebar on time for now. 2 minutes of jumping later, I made it. I was in the home stretch. But rather than being the last 100 meters in a run, it was a frickin' marathon! Meet the euthanizing button. Hitting it causes Incinerator to open up for you to throw the cube into. This happens on the timer. Now the only way to get to the button is leave the companion cube on another button. As you can probably deduce, I have to hit the button, run out of the little room, grab the cube, and put it in the incinerator. Sounds easy, with just a little practice like everything so far. But this was the hardest thing yet. It took a little for me to figure out the best way was to face the button and the cube and not bother turning. This helped me only slightly though. A big issue I was having was running into the door on the way out of the button room. Bumping the door only took a little bit of time, but at 10 times the speed, it took a lot of time. The only way to fix it was just get used to how long I had to press the movement keys and thread the needle of getting out.
The companion cube is struck. Button is a faithful companion.
How long did it take? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? It took 15 minutes of pure repetition of trying to get the cube put down.
You use it.
This one chamber doubled the amount of time that this entire run had been taking up until this point. It was agonizing, but surely the worst was behind me now. Right? Chamber 18. This game has a total of 19 chambers, so by this point, I was nearing the end. Until now, it hadn't been too hard. That all would be changed in this one chamber. I started by falling into the goo a couple of times. I changed my plan to fall and shoot a portal onto the wall, but I shot the portal onto the ceiling. I forgot you could do that. I tried to do the same thing to get to the next platform, and I landed on one of the pillars below the platform? Okay then. It turns out that I could just portal up onto it. One momentum jump later, I was there. I had arrived at the difficulty peak. This room featured every form of timed events, energy pellets, a rotating pellet ejector, a timed button linked to a door blocking the pellet receiver, and a timed platform tied to a momentum jump. More on the latter later. With the pellets rotating fast, it wasn't hard to knock down all of the turrets. Now came the fun part of having to get the pellet in the receiver while hitting a button in time. Unlike before, this pellet couldn't just bounce back through portals to reset its timer. This time, I had to send the pellet and then place my portal to hit the button, and then have the pellet go in the receptacle. Clearly, This was going to be agonizing. I was starting to have doubts that it was even possible. Human reaction times, plus the time it takes to hit buttons on the keyboard, were starting to become physical barriers, and they were limiting factors in how fast I could actually do something. I didn't give up, however, so I kept trying. I tried to stack cameras up to reach the button without having the portal up there, but it didn't work. I got into a rhythm with the pellet and tried again. But to my surprise, I actually got it. I don't even have the time to read. I was on top of the world since I was able to get this done, which only meant that it was downhill from here. The next part of this chamber features the most agonizing thing I've ever experienced in a game. Here, you have to hit a button which opens a panel. You shoot a portal onto it, shoot a portal beside you, jump up a few times, jump through the portal, turn, jump down, and shoot a portal onto the floor, and fly through it before the door moves back and destroys your first portal. Now, at normal speed, this can still be considered a somewhat quick thing, but at 10 times the speed, it obviously was nowhere as easy. Controlled movement is hard when every key press translates to 10 presses, as evident by the companion cube chamber. But this was even harder. I lacked the control to navigate up the steps to the portal. I kept sliding around where I needed to go. I had like 2 seconds to do this. All of it. Which should go without saying that it's not a lot of time for me to do all of it. If I went too fast, I'd go through the portal and dive into the goo. I didn't have to do it fast. I had to do it right. And that was what made this part hard. I had to do it alright where any mistake, even if I was just 1 pixel off of the path I needed to take, I would be unable to do it. Eventually, I called it. I conclude that this just simply wasn't possible at 10 times the speed. I still wasn't wanting to stop. I changed it down to half of its initial, and it was now down to 5 times as fast. I was still unable to do it. I set the speed to 3 times as fast, and was able to do it with little time to spare. This part was stupidly hard, and 3 times as fast may be the max rate to do this chamber. I accepted my defeat and carried on, until I got past the door I needed the cube for in the first place. Recall from the first part, how there was a jump and I had to change my portal mid-air at the propulsion gel site. This was doable because I had just 1 placement to do, and if I failed, I fell into the ground and could easily try again. Here, it was even worse. Any mistake resulted in death, and the camera correction designed to keep your head pointed upwards had a larger arc length that would correct the camera harder than it did in the second game. This made the micro corrections I would need to make my aiming accurate was just redundant, as it would snap immediately either directly up or directly down with any small movement I made. Looking perpendicular to that made it impossible to tell what I was looking at since I was going at 10 times the speed. I eventually just called it and just ended this chamber. I went back to 3 times as fast and finished it, got to the elevator, and finished it. I made it fast, but possible since I went down to 3 times as fast. With that, I'd finally finished Chamber 18. Chamber 19 was no better. This one is simple. You need to launch an energy pellet into a catcher which activates a platform. You then ride this slow-moving platform to open a door, dodge a pellet, and portal around the wall. By now, you should be able to tell that all 3 of these are timed events. The door is on a timer, which you need to time right. The pellet bounces at a regular interval that you need to use in time to get past it, and you need to time your position on the platform right to portal past the wall. My strategy was to ignore the platform since it was going too fast. I resorted to using the portal jumping method like I did back in Chamber 13. I'll spare you the details as it mirrors what just happened with Chamber 18. It was stupidly hard. I was just simply moving too fast to do anything controlled. I reduced the speed again and carried on as normal. After this chamber came the escape segment. Here, you had to do more quick portal placing and jump into them as you do this fast-paced escape from the testing track. At this point, I had given up on 10 times as fast thing. For the most part, Portal 1 may not be possible at 10 times the speed. But I wasn't quite done yet. As anyone who has played the game knows, at the end of the escape segment is a pretty major timed event, the GLaDOS fight. Let's kill GLaDOS, but at 10 times as fast. Since nothing of real importance happened during the whole escape sequence, let's talk about how the GLaDOS fight works. If you remember from part 1, the Wheatley fight worked by having 3 segments in which you have to deactivate him, find the core, grab the core, and put it on his body before time ran out. Each core had its own time duration, and if you recall, I had some pretty close calls during the fight. The GLaDOS fight in Portal 1 is simultaneously similar and different. It has the same main task, that being 3 cores. However, it differs as each core must be knocked off of GLaDOS with a turret rocket, then carried over into a little bunker that has a button, then you hit the button to open an incinerator, and you throw the core in the incinerator. Do this 3 times and you win. Simple enough. In normal speed, that is. Unlike Wheatley, where each core had its own time frame, all 3 cores in Portal 1 must be destroyed in 6 minutes. For me, I don't have 6 minutes. 6 minutes is 360 seconds. Divide that by 10, and I have 36 seconds to knock off, grab, and incinerate all 3 cores. You could probably do it in this time frame with the game going normally, but I'm stupid and made it not normal. Understand how the GLaDOS fight works for now? If not, you'll catch on, so without further ado, let's finish this. The fight began as any other fight would. She gave me exposition, and the morality core fell off. Thankfully, due to 10 times the speed, I was able to skip over the waiting. I then used this downtime to figure out my game plan for 10 times as fast. I tested if I could have the core just set on the incinerator hatch. I tried to have it get stuck on the handles, but sadly it would just roll down. This made me have to formulate a game plan of how to deposit the cores within the small time frame from hitting the button, to which I rammed the core into the stair rail. For probably the first time, I noted the window on the button bunker. I could shoot a portal out of here and have the core drop into the incinerator. My next issue came down to timing the button, which lasted all of about 1 second, and shooting a portal down to the core below. To my surprise, in a couple of tries, I destroyed the core, so this was doable, right? Well, the time spent actually trying to dispose of the core took about 20 seconds. All the while not including bombing GLaDOS and grabbing the core. I have 12 seconds per core at max. Mathematically speaking, this did not look good. Anyways, the fight started and my time began counting down. Fast. I set up the portals for the missiles and then realized how fast missiles fly at 10 times speed. I knocked the curiosity core off and somewhere in there and was able to grab it since I could walk on the pipes it floated at. I missed and then ran into something interesting. I was unable to grab the core unless I was in a certain spot. This was interesting, as in Portal 2 there is some sort of buffer zone to grab stuff without directly looking at it. This would explain why the companion cube was much harder to get in this game than anything in Portal 2. If you remember, the companion cube was a pain to get. Now I had to do that 3 times with a time limit of 36 seconds. Start doing the math and see if you can tell how this ends. I struggled by running into the level geometry, like the companion cube chamber, again, and after some mistakes, I died. I then immediately died to a rocket. I grabbed the curiosity core and surprisingly got it destroyed. It took me 2.5 in-game minutes, or like 15 seconds, to do so. Getting the cores gets harder as the next one spawned on a platform higher up. It didn't matter though, because I died. Now, where in the Wheatley fight your progress is saved, here it wasn't. So I was back to the start of the Curiosity Core. I died almost immediately a few times, and then paused the game. It was just a sake of numbers, and the numbers were all against me. I simply had not enough time to do all 3 cores in this time frame, especially when little mistakes like bumping map geometry, an iffy grab mechanic, and rockets that function like bullets would cost me a few real seconds, adding up to making this just not doable. 36 seconds was just not enough time. But I won't Gladys dead. I knew it was doable at high speeds, but I just needed more time. So I doubled my time by setting it down to half that speed, now at 5 times as fast. Now, before anyone goes, wow, slowing the game down by half, you're just bad. This is still 5 times as fast as Valve intended. It did make it easier. It made it possible. All of my prior issues still existed. I just had a little bit more time to actually do something about it. The first noticeable thing was I noticed that the missile was somewhat aimable, although I had to be quick. I got the Curiosity Core after 12 seconds and was able to destroy it at just about the 24-second mark. I then went on to the harder core, the Logic Core. I had forgotten that this one was harder by going to a platform above you, so I wasted some time. I was being super careful with all my movements, making over half of the time be wasted before I tried to destroy the Logic Core. It was at about the 2-minute in-game time left when I was on to the third and final core, the Anger Core. I had about 24 seconds to do this. Due to GLaDOS swinging around, the missile missed her, which was a major time loss for me. This happened again, and then I got the missile treatment myself and died. I resumed, a little annoyed, but at what, I had no idea. 18 seconds later, I had destroyed the first core. I missed the platform for Logic Core, which was costing valuable seconds. I then got it and destroyed it. I had about half the time left, giving me 36 seconds for the final core. A lot nicer than 36 seconds for all 3. This core in particular is why I wanted more time to do it. It took some time to hit GLaDOS, leaving me with 24 seconds to get the core. Unlike the others, this one was not placed on something, but instead floating midair. Normally, you would need to place your portal right and time your grab as you were falling to get it. But as you should know by now, this wasn't as simple as that. I tried multiple times to fall by the core, but just failed. I eventually got it after immediately dropping it. By the time I got the core where it needed to be, my time ran out. In classic me fashion, I started the next attempt by dying to a missile. Twice. I started again, destroyed the Curiosity Core in 12 seconds, knocked off the Logic Core, missed, then got the Logic Core, set it down, and then had a tough fight with my old adversary, Map Geometry. I destroyed the Logic Core, and then struggled again with the Anger Core. I kept missing the core as I fell. Pretty close, but not close enough. Remember that grab that I mentioned earlier? Here is where the more focused range of the grab was really becoming a challenge. I had to grab the moment that it was in that sweet spot, which at 5 times the speed is incredibly quick. Now, I could have placed my top portal more in line with the core, and that's a great idea. It's a shame that I never thought of that, so I died again. I then died to another missile, and started again, got past the Curiosity Core, and struggled to get the Logic Core. In a similar timed fashion, I had to jump as I was leaving the portal to get enough airtime to make it to the platform. I eventually made it and placed the core, struggled with map geometry again, then destroyed it. I had about 30 seconds to destroy the last core, so I had no time to lose. I finally had the idea to adjust my portal to be as high as it possibly could, and actually got the Anger Core. I put it in position, dropped it through a portal, and somehow missed the button to open the incinerator. I had about 30 in-game seconds, or 6 seconds to do it again. I put it back, but ran into the level geometry, which made me lose a couple of seconds, causing me to die right at the button. I got right to it. I learned you can't grab something when you're standing on it, and then proceeded to struggle to grab it.
Grab the thing! Thank you!
18 seconds later, I destroyed the first core. Not much long after, I got the second one and threw it into the fire also. It was now time for the last one. With a little over 24 seconds left, I had no time to lose. I got it within 18 seconds of real time, wouldn't you believe it, but I missed the button again. I ran back to the core, placed it down, ran to the button without bumping anything, and hit the button. I had finally killed GLaDOS with a comfortable 4 seconds to spare. After a grueling 40 minutes, Portal 1 had finally been finished. The audio started to overlap as the final cutscene played, the screen wrote out the lyrics faster than GLaDOS could sing them, and it was done. It was finally done. So, what did we learn? Portal 1 cannot be beaten at 10 times as fast. The real bottleneck was back in Chamber 18, so since that was able to be beaten at 3 times as fast, the rest of the game may be possible to beat at 3 times as fast. Funny enough, the game which gave the line about testing 10 times as fast is the only one that can be beaten 10 times as fast. If you have the PC version of Portal 2, I recommend trying this one out and giving Portal 2 a new challenge. It lacked the high number of timed events that Portal 1 had, so it was challenging but not to a high degree, and was kind of fun to do. If you haven't played Portal 2 in a while, try testing 10 times as fast. However, I strongly urge everyone to not try Portal 1 at 10 times as fast. It is much harder to the point it isn't even possible. However, if you do think you can do better, please let me know. We'll jump in the Discord call, you'll live stream your game, and I'll watch you beat Portal 1 at 10 times the speed live, as this could be a pretty easy thing to fake. Now, some of you may be thinking that this is fake. Well, trust me, it wasn't. And why would I fake? I wasn't able to do it. If I could fake it, wouldn't I make it so it was possible? Why? Well, if you have your doubts, I'll upload the entire stream completely unedited so you can watch all 3 hours that these two took. I won't even cut out the beginning part where I'm just setting up the stream. You will endure everything. Hey, thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. This part took way longer to do than I thought, so I hope you enjoyed and it was worth it in the end. The script for this section consisted of 5,516 words out of a grand total of 8,832 words that both this and the previous video took. So my apologies if I had a verbal stroke at some point during the voiceover. It got pretty tongue-tying at some points. Overall, this was a fun challenge, but it's just a pain that the last 2 chambers of Portal 2 prevented this from being completely possible at 10 times the speed. I got so close, but just... You win some, you lose some, I guess. If you have any challenge ideas like this, let me know. Here's a list of games that I have poured plenty of hours into, so if you can think of any dumb challenges for me to try and do, please let me know. By dumb challenges, I don't mean like no hits or deathless runs. I mean completely stupid ideas rooted by something. We'd be saying 10 times as fast was meant to be a joke, but I have since proven that it's doable for Portal 2 and not for Portal 1. So get creative. I'll give them a try with my best possible effort, despite not knowing if they're even doable or not. I know you've heard hundreds of times to subscribe, but while for others it helps them with the algorithm, subscribing to me will give me the dopamine that my brain has been lacking since I finished this run all that time ago. Please, man, give me the dopamine from the end of Portal 1, please. I need the dopamine. I need the dopamine, please. I want to give a personal thanks to Beppe for his nice comment. He said that I needed more fame, so how about we do what he says? Spread the word, share this video with your friends or anyone else who is familiar with Portal. Just do it. Spread the word. Don't let Beppe down. Well, friends, that's the conclusion for a series for the first time in my career. Sorry it took so long, but I hope it was worth it in the end. if you want to watch more, I've actually organized my YouTube channel, so you can now find some of my other stuff if you want more of me, for some reason. You can learn a thing from science videos, watch the partial movie I made that spanned like 5 years of production, or go dumpster diving with my first attempts at a series, which have some sort of nostalgic value. Or you can go watch my other Portal videos, which, for some reason, are my most popular ones. I guess people really like Portal still, and that's really cool. I'm trying to get back into streaming. I did Elden Ring basically non-stop since it came out, and that really took it out of me. So follow me over there if you want to hang out and have a good time. I'll probably be streaming any of the challenges you come up with, so stop by, see how I'm doing, and thanks for the pain in advance. Again, thanks for watching, do all the stuff I told you, and I'll see y'all whenever my next video comes out. Have a good one, everybody. Alright, so I went back into Portal 1 and I wanted to get a funny slow-mo shot of me pulling out from the Chamber 18 sign. And in the settings I found this, called Portal Funnel, where the computer helps you aim into floor portals. Now, I don't know if this is what helps you move into them, or if this is what adjusts your aim. I see a return to Portal 1 very soon in my future.